Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. Today, I have a video, a short discussion basically, about some new improvements, or I would say new progress in the community regarding Gotham Knights. So just the other day, someone announced that they were going to be joining, or they had been working on the Gotham Knights game. And this is actually a video game writer. I think the last name is Dyer. I cannot remember the first name off the top of my head. So on just doing a little quick search on the internet, this individual had actually written on two different video games in the past. And so it seemed like a lot of fans are a little concerned about, the writer coming into the whole mix and perhaps potentially influencing the story to push ideology rather than the authenticity that we should be looking for in this Gotham Knights game. Today, I wanted to go ahead and make a video to say I am not fazed nor worried about the politics or ideologies of whoever is writing on Gotham Knights. And I'll go ahead and explain my reasoning why. So there are a few things that we have to actually take into consideration. Batman's an already established, IP. I mean, I'm not saying that, he cannot be ruined in writing. I mean, he absolutely can be. No one is, safe from bad writing. But for us to be able to go ahead and say we're going to judge, one writer from their past work and basically juxtapose how they're going to do in this work, I don't think it's a fair assessment. Because the way writing works in video games, from my understanding, is that writers will usually write, depending on how long the game is, they'll usually write specific encounters in a long story-driven game. So one of the reasons like I said, I'm not fazed is because if Gotham Knights, which I believe it is going to be a long campaign, a writer in his own caliber will most likely be writing specific encounters within the whole, the entirety of the context of the game. So I don't think we're going to be having any of that sort of effect. Now, yes, perhaps in the past, the writers may have been able to, take on perhaps whole campaigns or, major parts of those. But if you look at the past work that this individual has done is, they've done work with EA, and I think they wrote, the campaign on Star Wars Squadrons or Battlefront or something like that. If you think about those games actually have very short campaigns, actually. Well, in the case of Battlefront, anyways, I can speak for that because I think that one has a 6-hour campaign that I haven't beaten because it was a little boring to me. I mean, and this is coming from somebody who's beaten Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order twice. Almost 100%. I enjoy that story a lot. So I don't necessarily think that will be the case. And speaking of Jedi Fallen Order, that is actually the way that I understand that writers actually have to deal with the content within the game, because there's a long 1-hour documentary that actually shows a little bit of the making of the game. It kind of exposes some of the things that we would probably not have seen from the outside. And in this particular documentary, the writing team had to basically be ahead of the curve. They had to write a lot of their stories. They had to write a lot of their lines, a lot of their encounters ahead of time, so that the voice actors could then start working on them, and then so that production could also move in those directions of cinematics and all of that stuff, and then for the game designers to design context or design game mechanics around those stories. So it's going to be a collective effort. If the story is not good, it's not going to hang on one person. So I believe that if we're going to be in a sense critical, we need to be very fair and look at the nature of the game that Gotham Knights is, and look at basically what it is that the game is trying to achieve. Also, if you think about the dynamics of the game, because the way the game has been written in different fronts, I genuinely believe that, as gamers, we're going to be able to experience the game, in a very multi-dynamic way. So usually, if you think about the way some of these games are written, they're written and centered around a single character. And so the more reason why I don't think that, a lot of the story is going to hinge on one person, I believe that because of the way that the story seems decentralized, in order to be able to, at the end, maybe form a coherent ending, it's going to be very challenging for one person to be able to kind of muddy anything. And I'm just saying this hypothetically. I have not necessarily played nor engaged in any of the games that, this writer has actually, written or whatever. So I don't necessarily know the quality of their work, but I personally want to wait and see, before I make my, any judgments or whatever. But at the end of the day, though, if we Batman fans, or if we, DC Comics fans, ask ourselves, what is it that we're looking for in the Gotham Knights story? Largely, it doesn't seem like it's really been defined in a sense. I mean, we've kind of stated the villains that we want to see. We've kind of stated how we want combat to be. Many of us are still reconciling with the co-op mode and the possibility that it's a light or not a light games as a service, but then when it comes to the story, what do we really expect? And, for those of us who have actually, basically voiced our opinions or, kind of define what it is what we want more than anything is authenticity. The authenticity is what I think is going to basically sell and drive the game, making the characters authentic, making them relive and, showcase who exactly they are in light of their past and basically the future that they're trying to achieve. This is what the Bat family is about. So if the development team at Warner Brothers Games Montreal truly believe in this project, they're going to deliver that authenticity, because so far so good. It seems like that's what they're doing. I mean, if you think about even the way they've set up the characters, they've tried their best to be able to keep the characters in an authentic light so far. If anything changes, we would know as the game progresses. So right now, I don't think there's any cause for alarm, and I can understand why gamers are a little bit, on edge, because, some games have delivered writing that has not been appealing to some gamers at large. But I don't think we need to look at every single game and judge it from that perspective, because, things could change. Perhaps, the writer could learn something in their new venture and, start perhaps writing in a direction that goes in line with the visions of, the creative leaders of the team, and that eventually becomes something that, is fashioned and fleshed out to be, super great. But we'll never know, though, until we get to see the entire product. But I wanted to go ahead and share my opinion and just say, I'm not really bothered about this. I know there's a lot of, stuff on the internet talking, whether people are concerned or not, but that's just basically my thoughts on the issue. And I know someone here in the community basically asked me to look into it, and I looked into it. And I, thought to myself, at this stage in the game, what influence does any new person on the team have? Now, if there's anything that anybody wants to even, be concerned about, Warner Brothers Games Montreal is working on a second game. And so perhaps you're going to have some of the team and the writers in Gotham Knights eventually move on to that project once this game is delivered. So we get to see exactly what comes of it. And another thing too is, I'd encourage a lot of us here in the community, as connoisseurs of the comics and all of that, to just continue to start designing and, curating fan-made content, and just seeing how we can actually juxtapose those in light of even what the people who are inside are able to make. Who knows, maybe some of you might be better writers, maybe some of you might be better curators, and you're just not putting your work out there, you're just not showcasing what it is you have, especially now that the developers at Warner Brothers Games Montreal have opened the floor for fans to be able to do a lot of fan showcase pre-release of the game. This is a wonderful time for us to be able to kind of get some of our own fan-made stuff out there. So that's pretty much it for me. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you very much for your time and audience. Hopefully we'll see in another video. If at any point you have anything you want to add to this video, please feel free to leave it in the comment section. Hopefully we'll talk in another one. Peace out.